I would now like to welcome our next youth volunteer speaker. Chris Sheppard was born in Postville, Labrador, where he was an active volunteer with groups such as the Labrador Winter Games Organizing Committee and the Teen Tobacco Team. He has represented Aboriginal youth at the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous issues, has been a past finally executive board member, and was a member of the Youth Advisory Panel for the Youth Retention and Attraction Strategy. Chris currently works with the St. John's Native Friendship Centre and sits on the National Association of Friendship Centres Voluntary Board Executive as the Youth Executive. Please welcome Chris Sheppard.
Thank you for the introduction. Just got a pic, so they're pretty sweet, actually, for those of you who've already seen them. I'm pretty pumped about this, actually. All my experiences so far have really centered around things I'm super passionate about. Volunteerism is a very big part of my life. I work for a nonprofit organization, and we're pretty much run by volunteers. We wouldn't be able to do the work that we do without them. And I go along with the saying that a person's built up of their experiences. It gives you, I guess, a path on what you're going to turn out like, how you feel about certain things. And one of the biggest parts of my experiences and how I look at the world has come from volunteer work. Like it said, I've been here for a while. I moved from a really small town of 200 people. There's 99% Aboriginal people, super small, no pavement, that whole wonderful experience. And then I moved here, and your experience up to that point has been very limited, and you don't really know how to look at it. So I started to volunteer in my community and I started to see how that experience could change and help me develop as a person. And a few short years later, I've been giving some great opportunities. I've been, like they said, UN Permanent Forum for Indigenous Issues is a group of young people who go to this event from all over the world, and we help write recommendations because we feel that our communities are not so widely recognized, and young people have this power of connecting, and we have this way of working with other people that our previous generations didn't have. So we work really hard to show the rest of the world why Indigenous young people are important and what we see is our future. So that's sort of things that I've been volunteering with. And when you get to see someone else's thought process on what they do in their communities to make them better, it's very important, and it helps my experiences and the knowledge that I have grow. So I guess the power of volunteerism and the power of how it can change you as a person becomes very important to your future and how you react to your community as you grow up. And like Chelsea had said, those resources in the community are worth more than a lot of people when you're paid to do something. You're doing it because you're passionate about it. You're not doing it because you have to or whatever. You're doing it because it sort of invigorates your soul when you do it. And that's where a lot of my experiences come from. I've found things that I'm really passionate about, and that drives my volunteer experience. Like all volunteers, we don't do it because you get something out of it, except for when you sit back and you see how developed your community has become by being involved in some small way. And I think a lot of young people get really nervous when they hear about volunteering and you're only one person, you can't do a lot in your community. But I just tell people, look at your Facebook. How many people do you know? How many people do they know? How many people do they know? Soon you have thousands and hundreds of thousands of connections, and just sending one message can really spur a movement. You look at what's going on right now in raising money for the tragedy in Haiti, and this big grassroots movement because of individuals who really care about the same thing. And I think that's one advantage that we have as young people, is that you can do those small, insignificant things that you might think aren't big, and then suddenly they transform into something where people really care about what they're doing. And it wouldn't be possible without people who do it because they're passionate about it and it's something that's important. I think that's the main thing people have to look at volunteer experience, is that it really changes who you are in your perspective. And having an ability for us to recognize those people who do these things for our community because they love our communities is really important. And my experiences have took me to some amazing places, but at the end of the day, I know when I go home, I've done something that helps someone else for a specific purpose. I want to teach them what I know so that they can be better off than what I was when I was still learning, and a big part of my volunteer experience is geared towards that. So I'm super excited that people will be recognized for the work that they do in their communities, whether they're 12, 14, or 25 years old, because they're doing it because they care. And I think it's going to be super exciting to see what happens in that whole arena and what award they're actually going to get. But I think it's about time that we really start to recognize those young people who really care about their communities and are trying to do something about it. And I want to thank everyone who is volunteering in their communities, because you don't know the feeling unless you've been there. And for those of you who have experienced that feeling, I'm really glad that you're doing it. So everyone keep watching. The website and everything's there, so that's pretty sweet. And thanks for listening.